What's up, everyone? Casey Bags here for episode 8 of our Build in Public series, where we walk you through what we accomplished this past week in building Nurl Sanctum. If this is your first time, all you need to know is Nurl Sanctum is the app for tabletop roleplay game design. If you're a game designer and you're designing your next game and you want to extend someone else's system, you want to build your own custom system, you want to do all the things that you're having to do in Google Docs or Affinity or whatever, this is where Nurl Sanctum comes in. It's the first tool built first and foremost for tabletop roleplay game designers. These are one-shot videos, so this is unreleased software. You can see we're launching beta sometime this year. We're very close. These episodes are what I've accomplished literally like this week, like stopped last night. These are one-shot videos. I do not edit these. What you see is what you get. Likewise, Sanctum is an AI-free tool. We don't build AI features. It's not an AI app. It's unnecessary. We don't need it. We're not interested in using that for this product in general. So that's about all you need to know, I think, for disclaimers. So what do we do this week? We're one step closer to our file importing system being complete. So we're about halfway there. Within that, what is a file importing system? You might be thinking, if this is your first time too, well, if you're familiar, if you're a visual designer that you use like Illustrator and stuff, you might be familiar with things like plugins or importing other libraries. If you're a web designer or web design background, you might be familiar with a tool called Figma, which is built on this system of collaboration and file dependencies. So the tabletop roleplay game design industry in general is very collaborative, and you're building off of other people's work. You're working together. You're working with other teams, etc. You're building your own team. The best example right now within the Morkborg community is a lot of people are creating hacks of Morkborg. So with our file importing, it allows us for essentially Pele or Johan or whoever in Stockholm Cartel to create an account, build out their system files, which is the core engine of Morkborg or Cyborg or whatever. That would allow anyone else, depending on if they make it public or not, allow anyone else to just import that system into their file. So that way, within seconds, you have the SRD, that you know what the core mechanics are, and you can build off of that, or just use that vanilla. This is going to change the entire industry in such a positive way. That's the file importing system. We're halfway there. But let's just dive in, because an important part of our file importing system is version control. So first and foremost, let's just it's early for me on the weekend. I can't talk. Let's take a step back and talk about version control. So for those of you who, this is your first episode, Sanctum uses what I call real version control. All that means is that we're using software industry level version control. So right now, if you're designing your own games, your version control more than likely is just what Google Docs is saving in their history, or you literally duplicating multiple files, like version 1 file, version 2, whatever. That's ridiculous. And the software industry created the concept of version control. It was called Git, G-I-T, like you gonna get. It's called Git. And we're going to use the analogy of a tree to help understand what Git is. Git is what we use, and we automate that as much as possible under the hood in Sanctum, so that you can have every single moment in time saved in a history of your entire repository And you can essentially see the before and after. Like, it's just so in depth, but it's also a pretty low level concept if you're not familiar with it. So in order for us to understand and get to the file importing features that we shipped this week, we need to understand a little more about the Git version control system. So let's start at the base. If we think about the tree analogy, it starts with the soil, right? Your soil holds the seeds that eventually become a tree. Within Sanctum, a repository is essentially the soil. Maybe it's a planter box. I don't know. But a repository is kind of self-explanatory. Most people are familiar with what that term means. But if you aren't, just think of it as a folder that holds a bunch of files and stuff. It just holds stuff. It's a closet. It's a box. It's a chest, whatever. So for us, we have repositories in Sanctum. I recommend that each repository be devoted to its own game. Because you're going to have different files related to a game, a systems file, a brainstorming file, supplements, adventures, whatever. But you don't have to. A repository could literally be however you feel empowered to create your repositories. For us, in this example, we're devoting them to games. So we're going to go into this open source game because we want to promote open source collaboration. So you notice it's public, but you notice we don't have anything in here yet. I've reset the database. We're starting from scratch so we could teach what this Git version control is. So within our analogy right now, we just have the soil, but we have two things here, branches and history. So let's go into branches. Out of the gate, once you create a repository, we automatically create your main branch, your protected branch. We see that we have a branch here called main, and it's protected. And I create this account is the indie creator. That's us. Created 10 minutes ago. That's when I reset the database. So what is a protected branch? That's your trunk of the tree. So the trunk of the tree is your single source of truth that is essentially spawns all the other stuff. But essentially, they all connect to the trunk. So when we have this protected label here, that means that you cannot delete or get rid of this branch. This is your source of truth that ideally all the work within the main branch, that's what you want to send to publishing. This is the real deal here. You theoretically never want to edit within the main branch. We're probably going to protect that under the hood and automate that to where you can't create files in the main branch. But we don't have that built in yet, but that's probably in the future. So we were going to automate branching in general, but how this will look in the future is as your team grows, or let's say you're just a team of 2 people. We have a lot of teams of 2 within our early adopters. For example, most notably Adam Vass and Will Jotz, World Champ, Good Luck Press. They make a lot of stuff together. They're going to work. They're essentially, ideally, would create their own branches. So Adam would work in his own branch, make whatever changes he wants to make. Will would work in his own branch. So imagine like a button here in the future that says like create branch, and I'll probably even include it on the overview to make it easier. But we'll do naming structures and automate that to help out in the future. But branches names should be unique. But think of a trunk has multiple branches, right? Those are instances of work that you want to scope to where it doesn't affect the main branch, like what you want to send to publishing. You essentially want to break stuff in your branch. So when that's ready, essentially you want to submit a pull request, what we call, which essentially says, I'm ready for this work to go into the main branch. So what we're going to do when we build that system and build that feature in, you'll be able to see the before and after, what changes you want to introduce to the main branch. So that way we can add protection layers in the future. Maybe we have like tests that you can run to make sure that like a weapon always exists or attributes always exist, whatever protection you want to do, that allows us to do that. But it also allows us to put another protection layer to make sure you're not corrupting the main branch, the stuff you want to send to publishing for the future. So for example, we have, let's say Rivet Head, another one of our early adopters, another team of 2. Let's say Tyler and Astro are working in their individual branches. Astro submits a pull request. It allows Tyler to stop what he's doing to review what Astro wants to put into the main branch and be like, oh, hold on, I thought we were doing XYZ. And Astro's like, oh yeah, you're right, my bad. And he fixes that. Now we have that protection layer to keep the main branch pure. That is branching. So branching is essentially when you want to start working on something new or fix or whatever that's out, that you essentially want to protect and scope away from the main branch. It's your safe space to work. Shout out to Gollum Productions. Hello, V Gates. Our German designers, team of 2 also. And massive shout out to Adam Vass in Unit 6, who recommended the manual branching feature. So valuable. Okay, so that's branches. Within a branch, you have your history. Now, this is an entire repository history, but repository, this name is going to change to whatever branch you're in the future. And what a history is it's very specifically connected to this thing called a commit. A commit are the leaves on the branch. So this is a snapshot in time of the work that you produced. So we'll automate commits under the hood. So every time you make a change, we're going to save that before and after for the commit and record that history for you. So you don't have to worry about that part. You could just worry about creating a branch and wanting to say, I'm ready for it to go into the main. Okay, so let's see commits. We haven't done nothing here in this repository, so let's see what this means in the future. So I'm just going to create 2 files. I'm going to create a canvas file because I want to brainstorm a new game idea, and a system file because I know I want to create my own core system for the game to use. So we've done 2 things here. So if we go back into history, we can now see 2 commits, but there's nothing to view because we've literally just created a file. There's no before and after. So 2 things, we've updated the message here. We now have a more descriptive message. You know who it's from and when it happened. But most importantly, we now show what we call a commit hash. For most of you, this isn't going to mean anything outside of the most important thing is it's a unique identifier to show you a commit is unique. So what I mean by that is we have 2 commits that are named differently, an untitled system, untitled canvas, because when you create a new file by default, it is a private file that's named untitled whatever. But if I create another system file, for whatever reason, we technically have 2 commits that are named the same with the same author that are 1 minute apart. Now, I might think that this is a bug or like this is a duplicate, but now that we're showing the commit hashes, you know that these are unique things that I've literally created 2 files within this repository that are named the exact same thing. So this is a commits. Why did I just go through this long-winded discussion about version control when the whole topic of this is file importing? Well, now let's talk about what we accomplished on the file importing. So if we go into our system file, we now have this new section called assets. in systems. If we click on systems, we have our systems library. Now this is all this is mostly static data because we haven't hooked everything up here. But essentially your systems library is going to be where you can see and import other files into this file and manage those imports. But also, most importantly, this is where you publish your file for either your other team, like your team, or other people to be able to import your file. So this is a systems library, or a systems file, a game system. So for example, if I imported, like, let's pretend in this browse tab, there's like some visual cards that's like Morkborg, Cyborg, Death in Space, Bloodborg, assuming Adam Vass would want other people to extend Bloodborg. I mean, I could go at Vasgrim. We have so many early adopters right now. But let's pretend that I've already imported the Morkborg system. So by nature, we're tracking that we have a private file that extends X amount of systems, and we show the licensing assets related to that. So now you don't have to worry about finding those, adding those into your files, whatever. Sanctum is going to manage all of that inheritance for you just by simply clicking one button and instantly getting access to all that stuff. So you won't ever be able to publish a private file, but for the sake of this demo, I'm going to click publish, and you're going to get this final validation check. So we're going to, first and foremost, tell you what the visibility of this file actually means. So private files cannot be published. It doesn't matter. So you'll get this far, you won't be able to publish. That will be disabled. But let's make this file, let me go to settings. Let me make it visible to everyone. We want it to be a public file. So now that we've updated that, let's go back to the systems. We hit publish. Now we see that it's public, and this file will be available in the systems library for other creators to discover and import. That's exactly what I want. I want other people to be able to use this system. And then we have some final checks. So we know that this file does not have a license assigned to it, and some other requirement that we haven't put yet. So I would still be able to publish this file if I did not care about having a license assigned. This is just our final call out of, hey, you should care about these things. But this importing system is so diverse, you can use this in multiple different ways. This is exactly how we're using the dice set templates. So whenever you click on your dice and you want to add dice, these templates, all you're doing is just importing our Nurl dice set template system files. So we've created a system file. If we go back to our repository, we have a dice set templates repository. We have different system files that are devoted to different types of dice. There's nothing in here, no license, anything outside of all we've done is literally just register a dice pool. And that is the magic of this whole importing system. So how in the world does this relate to version control? Well, in order for us to publish, we have to connect that to whatever a commit, like your latest commit is. So that is why an understanding of the complexity and the intricacy of the Git version control matters, why we're having to dive a little deeper into this topic now. Because essentially, in order for you to publish, you have to directly connect it to a commit. Why? Because once we hit publish, you're going to see a new commit in here that says so-and-so published X file. And now we have that snapshot saved in history. So that was it. We're halfway through the process. This is a longer one because we had to do a teaching session on Git. I hope that did not melt your brain, but I hope it makes you more excited because we are literally about to make building games so much more streamlined and faster, and most importantly, enhance the collaboration and the industry collaboration, like on an industry level, in a way that has never been seen before in the tabletop roleplay game industry. This is going to be so special. And I can't wait to empower all the designers and make design more accessible, like in general, to people who want to become designers. Woo! So that's it. Thanks for sticking around. I guess I'll see you next week, where hopefully we'll be closer to wrapping up the file importing system. Okay, bye.